Good morning, Amanda with the Happy Homestead. I'm here at the homestead property. It is pretty early in the morning and I've got to do a harvest. I have not been here in probably close to 5 or 6 days, and I know there's things that need to be harvested and come home and made into some beautiful, delicious food. So I thought, you know what, this would be a great opportunity to show you how things are doing, right? I'll link above to when we actually started to plant the summer garden. I started all of these plants from seed back in the middle of February, and then I planted them in the middle to end of April is usually when I plant. So we're in middle of July right now, and so the garden is in full swing. And I thought, you know what, not only like go through the harvest this morning and kind of see what we get and take you along, but also talk about what's going well, what varieties are really doing great and my favorites so far. And we're here. And then, you know, what would I not grow again? So first, I'm going to undo the electric fence. And I want to mention the electric fence has been a lifesaver. It really has. Nothing has been eaten by any sort of four-legged animal. Now, I've got bugs, but I've had no deer or rabbits or anything, chipmunks, groundhogs come in and destroy the garden. And so for that, I'm very grateful. The electric fence has worked wonderfully. The bees are very active this morning. So you might hear some buzzing, but they're not going to sting you. All right, so here's my peppers and eggplant, if you remember from last time. Now, overall, these are doing fairly well. The problem is the weeds now. Pause for a moment here because y'all are going to see real life, right? I know you can go onto YouTube and you can watch gardeners, and I do this, and they have the most beautifully manicured gardens, right? With like stone-lined beds and the wood chips, and it's just so pretty. And someday I hope to get there, but I am not there today. And I know that those people have put a lot of work into those beautiful gardens. I just haven't been able to accomplish that this year. So you're gonna see a lot of weeds, and it has been so overwhelming to the point where I come out here and sometimes I'm just like, I can't do it, and I leave. And that's not exactly a good tactic when you get stressed out in life. So I've been trying to head on, go at it. And so the weeds with the peppers and eggplant, they're not as bad, right? I try to keep them at bay with the weed whacker, and there have been some casualties with the weed whacker with peppers and eggplant. It happens. Now the tomatoes, they're looking not too bad right here, right? I was able to come in and I hand pulled a lot, but then when we get down here, that's a disaster. So I say all that because y'all just have to have some grace for me right now as we go through this garden. Now, with all the weeds and the bugs, I've got a lot of squash bugs, and I've got a lot of those leaf-footed bugs. I have seen a lot of those. And whenever I see them, I'm just squishing. But even throughout all of these trials and tribulations, I still have a lot of things coming out of the garden. And so hallelujah, praise God, that is a good thing. So I'm just going to start harvesting, and as I see something that I think is worth sharing, then I'll do it. We've got some poblanos, and I'm only really trying to pick the peppers that are really beautifully red. I don't need any green peppers at home right now, so I'm leaving them on. These plants right here, these are Ajvarsky peppers, and again from Baker Creek. And there's none that are red now, but they are so beautiful and they're big. If you can see this one here, it's really the length of my hand, they become these beautiful big peppers, and they go to a gorgeous red color. And there's like 4 or 5 on this plant, and then I have another plant over here. And I learned about the Ajvarski peppers from Living Traditions Homestead. And I've already been harvesting some and saving seeds because they are just beautiful peppers. They're not hot peppers. They're more of a sweet variety. And they're great for roasting, red roasting peppers. This one, I am not entirely sure what this one is because there's like some variegation within the leaves, but we're producing a lot. Now I do know, I'm quite sure this is a spicy pepper. I just don't know yet which one this is, but a lot of these are coming in. I also have a handful of bell peppers. This is one of those plants. We got 3 bell peppers over here. This one I think is going to be turning yellow. I've got another plant that's turning red. And so a good amount of bell peppers are coming also. And really my only goal this year with the peppers is to have for salsa, hot peppers. I'm going to make our own fermented hot sauce. And then also really just having some chopped or sliced bell peppers frozen in our freezer that I can easily just pull out in the dead of winter and use for stir fries or casseroles. So that's the point of the peppers really. I do have some eggplants here. Let me show you some of my eggplants. I got 4 eggplant plants left. One was victim to a weed whack incident this past week, but we got some eggplants growing on what we have left. So this one is a little puny plant, but it's got these cute, adorable little eggplants on here. Can you see this? So I've already pulled a couple of these that I have in our refrigerator from earlier harvests. And then we have this plant. So those will probably use for, so those tiny ones I'll probably use for stir fries. But then I got a nice big boy coming here. Can you see this one here? And I got another flower here starting. So this one is going to be a beautiful eggplant, hopefully for eggplant parmesan. And look at this one. This is the best eggplant plant I have right now. So I've got 2 growing here. Do you see this one here, this big one? Beautiful. And then I got another one here. So those are going to be gorgeous eggplant parms too. So with the eggplant, I love eggplant, so I intend to make some gorgeous eggplant parmesan, like I said, just for fresh eating. But I'm also going to try to slice it pretty thick, bread it, and then freeze it. And so in the winter, I can then make eggplant parmesan. So I'm not going to fry it first, I don't think. Haven't decided that yet. But then I could like make a casserole, eggplant parmesan casserole with it in the dead of winter from the freezer. Okay, I think that's all I really need to harvest from the peppers and eggplant right now. There are a lot of peppers that are turning, but like I said, I want to keep them turning. So I got 4 right now. And this is one of our favorites. This is the Thai red chili, the cayenne red. And so those are the ones I'm going to use these to make our fermented hot sauce. So let's go into the tomato jungle. These are some beautiful determinate paste tomatoes. And I do think I am going to try to stick with determinate varieties. They're just so much easier to manage. And this one in particular, I don't know the exact variety at the moment, but this one is doing wonderfully. There are so many tomatoes on this plant. So I'm getting all the red ones and any that are just starting to turn because they will ripen at home. So look at that. Just on that one plant, we got that many. This section right here, I have torn out just about every tomato plant due to some severe pesticide damage, or it might have been herbicide damage. If you've been following along with any of the reports here in the United States, this year had presented some pretty serious herbicide traces within soil, no matter which brand you had purchased. And I am no different than just about every other home gardener. I fell victim to that as well. So I had to pull about 8 tomato plants because they just weren't producing. The leaves were really curled up and looked horrible. So I pulled them, and now we have this dead spot. But the good news is, and I'm not going to name the company that I purchased the soil from because quite honestly, they have done a phenomenal job rectifying the situation. So I don't really want anyone to walk away with that name of the company thinking anything other than good things. So I'm just not going to say it. But I would say that if you fell victim to this type of thing this year, contact your company and see what can be done. So a lot of tomatoes in here, but these are kind of like bigger cherry tomatoes. I see one over here to get. Look at that gorgeous big boy. And have you seen the sunflowers? Check these out. Some of those are well over 12 feet tall. I've got a handful of them, probably 8 to 10 of them here in the tomato garden. And I planted them all along the T-posts so I could support them along the T-posts. I've got some zip ties holding them there so whenever we have storms come through, nothing is breaking and falling over. And this one back here, that's the tallest one, and this one's certainly catching up to it. And they are going to be gorgeous. These are the mammoth gray sunflowers from Baker Creek. You know, and every now and then get a tomato that just isn't doing good. This one's got some damage. Same here. These are the Dr. Witchy. I don't know if that's how you say it. That's how I say it. They're these gorgeous yellowish orange tomatoes. Here's one here with a little damage. I'm gonna take this home and just cut that side off. I keep hearing this really loud bee, and I just saw it, and it is not a bumblebee or a honeybee, it's a hornet. So I'm glad I now know what that is. Okay, I think I've got all big boys. This is what I've gotten so far. So now we're gonna go back and I'm gonna get all of the cherry tomatoes. It's getting muggy out here. All right, I think I've got all of the tomatoes harvested, and I've found a bunch of leaf-footed bugs and just smushed them. So this is one of the reasons why I wear gloves in the garden, because I don't care what it is. Japanese beetle, squash bug, leaf-footed bug. I'm very violently and satisfyingly smushing them because they will destroy your plants. So this is my sweet potato patch. If you saw me plant those sweet potatoes, overall it's getting a little overrun by weeds, and that's probably not even a huge deal, but I don't know if you can see how really everything has been eaten to a nub. Do you see how, like, we got one leaf here, but we've got all of these stems. I've had cutworms, so these little caterpillars, come up at night and they climb up the stem and they eat all the leaves. And so I have had a pretty big cutworm problem at home with my green beans and here with my sweet potatoes. So I've been using some organic methods to try to prevent them, kill them, and sounds very violent. Killing all the bad bugs. But guys, when you are out here trying to grow your own food, there's only so much harmony you can have with these bugs. So I hope we still get a sweet potato crop, but And I feel confident we will. It may not be huge, but we'll get something. I've also got 5 or 6 tomatillo plants here, and I've harvested a bunch of tomatillos already at home. And there's no more ready today. And how do you know, right, that tomatillos are these beautiful, like, almost looks like a green tomato with this husk on it. And you know they're ready because they almost break out of the bottom of the husk. Oh, there's that hornet. Yeah, he is all around me, and he is huge. Not afraid of my honeybees, but I'm a little afraid of the big hornet. And so they kind of break out of the husk there, and that's how you know they're ready to be harvested. Okay, we're over to the squash tunnel, and again, you probably remember me building this and planting all of these squash plants, again, from seed. So overall, we've had some good successes, but we've also had some bad things, mainly just due to bugs. I have already pulled a handful of squash plants, and I have to pull a couple of more, so I'm going to show those to you. And I started some more squash seeds about a week, maybe a week and a half ago now, because I'm going to do a second succession of planting with the winter squash. So this is I think like a tromboncino type of plant, and it puts off these beautiful big squash here. And if you leave them to ripen on the vine, they become this hardened winter squash that will last a lot longer in your pantry, or you can pick them when they're younger and cook them like a summer squash. I've got a cantaloupe melon here, but you can see that some of these leaves are yellow, and that is absolutely from some damage. Oh, and I see some squash eggs. Let me show you these. All right, can you see this? This little cluster here? Those are squash bug eggs. So I want to get those off. Sometimes you find them on the underside of leaves too, but the squash bugs are here and they are procreating. This is a gorgeous patty pan, and I've got 2 big boys here. One big boy and one regular that I'm going to harvest. Look how pretty they are. So that's like it's a summer squash. All right, I want to show you this plant. This is a squash plant. Look, there's even a baby right here, if you can see. A baby squash. We've got some flowers with a bumblebee in it. I mean, it overall looks okay, but you know what? Now that I'm seeing this, that is 2 separate plants. This plant is dead. So I'm actually going to pull this one. Yep, 2 separate plants there. So we want to keep the good one and get rid of the bad one here. Most likely it is from the squash vine borer. I'm looking to see if I can find it here. Well, I don't see them, but this plant is definitely a goner. So you want to remove those diseased and infected plants, because otherwise the bugs and the disease can then transfer to your good ones. So we do have a good squash plant here. Hopefully that one produces nicely. This is a pumpkin, and I was so dismayed and discouraged when I saw this earlier this week. So this pumpkin was growing beautifully, and now all of a sudden I've got this yellow patch here. It's not too soft. I'm still letting the pumpkin grow, but I have no doubt that is from either the leaf-footed bugs or a squash bug. Oh, here's some eggs. Gotta get those eggs off. Yeah, so you just have to really keep an eye on your plants because the bugs will try to win. And that hornet is following me. All right, so let's move over here. Again, weeds galore, disgusting weeds galore, but I have, these are watermelon plants amongst the weeds, and I actually have a watermelon growing, and there's another one over here within the leaves here. You can see that one. So we got some watermelon. I don't know how big or much bigger they'll get, but they are growing. And then I've got some melons. Got some melons hanging on the trellis there, if you see those. The bugs are relentless, just like the weeds. But you keep going, you keep persevering. So this one is really beautiful, and it's getting harder. So I'm letting this one harden on the vine, so this can become a winter squash for us. So not too bad of a harvest today. Certainly there's more things I could get, but I'm just gonna leave them to get bigger and brighter and whatnot. So this is a good start. So that's the garden for now. I'll take you home and show you what I do with some of these things just to keep them preserved for a lot longer. But we're done for today. And I know it's not the most beautiful garden. It's not, and it's okay. I'm okay with that because it's producing. I mean, look at the beautiful bounty that is coming. Despite the weeds, we are getting food. Back at home in the kitchen, and I'm just admiring the harvest. So I have a lot of tomatoes. Now, I'm just gonna tell you what I'm gonna do with a lot of these things, but with some of these larger slicing tomatoes, this one, remember, I've gotta cut this part off. But I will use these for tomato sandwiches with some homemade sourdough and some homemade mayonnaise, because tomato sandwiches in the summer is like the quintessential meal, and it is delicious. With a lot of these paste tomatoes, I'm going to throw these in Ziploc freezer bags and tackle them this winter. So I really like to save these tomatoes for making tomato sauce, and I prefer to do that in the winter. So I'll just do a quick little slice off of the core here, the top, and then put them right in the freezer bag. With a lot of these cherry kind of grape tomatoes, and there's a lot of these, and here's some more of those blue beauties, a lot of these smaller ones. I'll use a lot of these for fresh eating, but a friend of mine over at 7 Season Farms, Chrissy, was just telling me how you can clean these up, right? Take this off, wash them, roast them, and then pack them in oil. So I'm gonna try to do that with a lot of these because I love sun-dried tomatoes in oil. And she was explaining how she does it and how she uses it with a fresh pasta dish, and it just sounded delicious. So thank you, Chrissy. So I'm actually gonna try that and roast some of these and pack them in olive oil. And again, with my peppers, I am attempting to do a fermented hot sauce. I just need to make sure I have enough hot peppers to do that. But we're gonna start making our own hot sauce for this year too. Thanks for joining me on the summer harvest and the garden tour today. I'll keep you up to date with how things progress. Stay healthy, stay well. Bye-bye.